two groups of people. It's like, not at the same flow rate in general. Wait until Gu Qian and Gu wait for others to arrive. The two of them had already hit the roof. Zhao Yan's figure jumped up and fell towards the big head. The big head is not afraid at all. At the same time, use a flower umbrella to block it, gripping the handle of the umbrella and poking it recklessly towards the eaves. The next moment, a burst of dresses appeared. In the mist, the flower umbrella was activated again. Zhao Yan had already taken precautions against this, and at the same time, as he stopped his body with the bloody blade in his hand, quickly retreated out of the range of the flower umbrella. Zhao Yan jumped up again after turning around, flew to the top of the umbrella. The magic weapon of the big head is certainly magical, but the disadvantages are also obvious. He can only affect things that are covered by the umbrella. There is not the slightest superfluous action. Zhao Yan raised his leg and dodged fiercely towards the flower umbrella. The eaves are still broken. They struck from the roof to the inside of the house. Then came another struggle. The knife flashed out. Everywhere you go, it's full of devastation. Back to the ground again. There are thousands of moves to fight against both, but there was not a word in it. This is probably the strong one. There's no need to talk about the atmosphere. You can be perfect all about what is called hardy. Fighting in full swing. The crowd outside the house was fought between the two. Shocking scalp tingling. They even began to think, myself, isn't it not suitable for the profession of a Dharma seeker? But just between a few people talking, there was a loud bang. Doors and windows shattered. Zhao Yan's battle with Datu continued. The entire Wu mansion seems to have become a dueling ground for the two. Fighting between them. There is no room for others to interfere at all. After a lot of tossing and turning, Zhao Yan and the two fell on the lotus pond. The big head flicked his sleeves and swapped out a few small beasts folded out of paper. The same paper crane that was used against the trash fish before. Run in the same groove. With the big head pinching digging. These little beasts seemed to have turned into living creatures. Straight towards Zhao Yan. But they just came. In front of Zhao Yan, he was slashed by his martial sword. With the disappearance of the little beast, the battle between the two finally came to a halt for a moment. At this moment, the breath of the big head seems to be a little urgent. The repeated use of supernatural powers made him a little unbearable. But on the other hand, Zhao Yan still seems to be at ease. The big head deliberately approached the three-needle method. It's actually for the next causal battle layout. 5 prefectures at the moment. Everyone was beaten by the big head and Zhao Yan. The battle was shocked. Only Apao the 5 Elements Gate looked at the two of them silly. Everyone looked sideways, thinking about the big guy. I'm afraid it's not a big brain link. But I saw his hand digging for the next moment. In the depths of this lotus pond, a few of the Fulu suddenly burst into a second light. This is the Imperial Tomb Mansion that he buried here in advance. Under the control of the artillery, the vines that were transformed by Fulu instantly enveloped Zhao Yan. There was no figure of Zhao Yan in the Jingjing Shushi field. All that remains is a cage made of vines. The crowd rejoiced. They all stepped forward to take down the mage in one fell swoop. The big head hurriedly spoke out to stop it, but the leaders simply ignored it. The big head is helpless. Because of this, it is indeed a rare opportunity. With that, he threw out the weighing flower in his hand. A few people followed. In an instant, he came to the vine cage realm. However, it was at the fork in the door where the two approached. A forest of knives slashed through. The cage that trapped Zhao Yan turned into chicken powder in an instant. And Rush in front of the front, and Apao were also directly beheaded. Zhao Yan went to the bandits and waited. It is true that Chao's daughter-in-law entered the vegetable garden. Jinji pulls vegetables and looks at the tomb for herself. It was like a basin of ice water poured on everyone's hearts. But that's not all. At the moment when Zhao Yan broke free, for a moment the flower umbrella had come to the top of his head. Moisture fills the room. Zhao Yan seemed to be stuck in a swamp. The velocity of time under the umbrella is condensed. The big head snorted coldly. Bang. At present, Zhao Yin is like a lamb to the slaughter. He can easily take his phone torch. The big one snatched the king's sword from Ma Zhao's hand, dodged and attacked straight towards Zhao Yin. However, it was on the way to fly. But I saw Zhao Yin's eyes flashing. Glanced at his head coldly. The big head was taken aback. He's moving. The impact of time stay on Zhao Yin. It's not as big as the big head thinks. The next moment, the figure of Zhao Yin under the spring flower umbrella suddenly began to blur. After a flash of blood. Instead, it's a blood god the size of an inch. The big head looked at the villain in front of him with interest. This should. The talent that the TV guy has mastered. Otherwise, the big head remembered the way Zhao Yin looked at him before. Suddenly realized that Zhao Yin was actually consuming him. With the current strength of the big head, use it continuously for a moment, called the flower umbrella to exert magical powers. Mana is quickly depleted. And the other side, Zhao Yin, who completed the transposition with the blood body, returned to Gao Haoguang's body. Gao Haoguang asked where he had just been. Zhao Yin answered the question. There is no explanation for this. And inside the Wu mansion, the big head looked at the little red man under the umbrella with a worried face. At this moment, it was obvious that the mage was also murderous towards them. At the moment, his body is far from blunt. But the little red man didn't lose his mana. I'm afraid he won't be back again soon. But he had to stop. With that, he said to the people beside him, if you don't want to die, let's just fight with the big head. If you run away, I'm afraid you'll be broken one by one. And at the moment when the big head put away the magic weapon, Zhao Yin also felt it. After he said 2 words to Gao Haoguang, he used his supernatural powers and blood body again to complete the transposition. Seeing the mage reappear, the crowd shouted for revenge for their comrades. Only the big head waved his white head towards Zhao Yin. Said the mage pavilion, get down and call you daddy. How about you give me a hand? Zhao Yin was speechless. The big head's methods made him feel a little difficult. To be on the safe side, he guarded Gao Haoguang's bloody villain, also summoned over. Because of this villain, is Zhao Yin's real talent thief. As his voice fell, Scarlet Villain, a piercing burst of blood erupted from his body. Finally behind it, a specific type of tall and large anti-blood god was formed. Meanwhile, Gao Haoguang on the coast, consciousness sensed the disappearance of the blood god villain. Guarding him right now, only that one sentence remains. It doesn't look like a smart little two. Gao Haoguang glanced at it. With Zhao Yan's disappearance again, the uneasiness in his heart became more and more serious. Where did he go? It's up to you to guess. My group only came to Sanchuan Town today, and had a holiday with him. He just exuded a murderous aura. It's also the direction of the unassisted. Where else could he go? At this moment, Gao Haoguang only felt a palpitation. With Zhao Yan's supernatural powers, he didn't know how long the master would last. I have to get out of here as soon as possible. Go and find the Dharma mansion left by the 8 immortal monarchs. So Gao Haoguang pretended to be a pear. I looked like I was eating something strange. Shower was a little puzzled, hurriedly leaned over to his mouth to check. But the next moment, it was directly bitten by Gao Haoguang. This other half of the blood body. What is stored is Zhao Yan's past, and those things that he must never forget. At this moment, Gao Haoguang hesitated. He was touched by Zhao Yan's life. He couldn't bear to kill such a person. He wanted Zhao Yan to live. You know, it's only at its peak. How strong can Zhao Yan be in 20 or 30% cases? With its power to exert great sins. The threat of bloody terror plummeted. Ma Zhao and the others were all spitting blood. There was no chance for the crowd to react. Zhao Yan flew up directly. Raise your hand towards the place where the others were. Hell falls. There was a popping sound. The rockery is broken. Countless rubble splattered out. Under such terrifying power, Ma Zhao and the others were powerless to resist at all. Hanging right hand after avoiding the blow. Then he flew towards the bank of the lotus pond. But obviously, Zhao Yin didn't want to give a few people the slightest respite. The splashing rubble. At this moment, it has become the urging of Ma Zhao and several people. Look at the rubble that shot like a meteor. The crowd knew they couldn't sit idly by, flying to fight against it. However, just as a few people were concentrating on the immediate crisis, Zhao Yin controlled the blood body behind him and condensed in sorrow. It's like a miracle. Knock it out with a miniature version of the bloody body and break through the air. Shuttle flexibly between the calligraphy of several people. Wait until you get rid of the spell completely. When Zhao Yin appeared with him again, it's in front of everyone's eyes. Ma Zhao and the others were shocked in their hearts. Even the big head was taken aback. Zhao Yin's eyes were cold. Throw out 4 drops of black blood in his hand. Precise drips fell on the foreheads of Ma Zhao and others. This black blood. It is the mage's means of robbing humanity of life. Under the control of Zhao Yin, wisps of life are drawn out and fused into its body. The skin of Ma Zhao and others is visible to the naked eye. The mana in the body is directly imprisoned. They are powerless to resist. Big Head see this. A dodge came behind everyone. In a moment, the spring flowers bloom again, shrouded Ma Zhao and the others. The flow of time is condensed. Zhao Yin. The rate of sucking life has also become extremely slow. He looked at the big head with a cold expression. Your Excellency's faction is so warm-hearted? For Zhao Yin's bloody mouth. The big head was suddenly unhappy. The big head has always been indifferent. How can he be warm-hearted? You don't want no one to be innocent. It's just that I don't have these people alive or dead. The person who supports you cannot be dangerous. For the old Sundara Zhao in front of him, the rock looked a little helpless. Again, as long as the big head leaves, he would never touch it. Once again, the big head decisively refused. After a moment of silence, Zhao Yin looked at the big head with a little deep meaning. Your reason to help them. Could it be that he wanted the sect to be in the next battle of cause and effect? Become an ally of the 3 true truths? The big head looked dazed. He had no idea what a war of cause and effect was. But right now, even if there are spring flowers, they didn't last long either. And the big head is obviously not that kind of self-identification. Chivalrous worship. So Meiji decided. Weigh another half-pillar of incense and leave. And the other side. Gao Haoguang hurried all the way to the foot of the other side of the mountain. Here will be a Kiko for this crisis. The 3 supernatural magic suits left by the Bureau. AD 525. Will Akiko know again? Gao Haoguang thousands of years later. Will meet Zhao Yin again after the Emperor in Lachuan. Past the order of the same month as the 3 truths. Informed about their own layout. He will be on a striking stone tablet. Leave a pattern imprint that can be seen at a glance. Just look for the direction of these marks. You can find a huge 3-stitch door emblem. And in the very center of this door emblem, there is a gap that is broken by the Akiko's supernatural power. In the midst of this crevice, he placed the great divine power method drawn by his own hand. After doing everything, Akiko took a slight look. He remembered his old man. But Akiko knows well. The real ones are long gone. It is to be understood by one's own hands. If you put the great divine void law refined by Mingzi, such as how strong the stone layer can be. At this time, on the other side of the mountain, Gao Haoguang followed the ancestor all the way. The mark left behind is searched upwards. And yet at this moment, a violent explosion sounded. Gao Haoguang looked sideways. I couldn't help but tremble in my heart. Because of the place where the explosion was heard. It's my house. The Wu family's compound at this moment. It's a wasteland. And in the center of this compound, a scarlet giant. He was holding an exaggeratedly large long knife. Towards the moment, the flower force slashed down. For a while, the front was just moving. Swords are everywhere. Under Zhao Yan's unsparing offensive. For a moment the flowers were already full of cracks. It was as if it would shatter at any moment. At this moment, the Rao's big head has a giant wing magic weapon. I can't hold it anymore. Is it too late to run now? However, It was Zhao Yin's clever knife that answered him. The horse thudded. For a moment, the flowers could no longer hold on. Transform into a small umbrella. Fell in front of everyone's eyes. Without the blessing of supernatural powers. Ma Zhao and the others also recovered from the wise time. After seeing everything in front of you, several people had different expressions. Only the big head calmly said that the big head was about to slip away. Everybody. But now Zhao Yin doesn't want to give him a chance. Despite doing so, it may attract endless retribution from the sect behind him. And the other side, pursue the Gao Haoguang that should follow. Finally found the way to leave Akiko behind. This is a captive who has been refined by the great divine power. The micropressure he exudes has not diminished for thousands of years. Insects and birds do not dare to touch the air. There's a sense of wisdom all around it. It can be seen that it is extraordinary. But at this moment, Gao Haoguang fell into confusion. He doesn't really know how to use other people's alchemy. The law of transformation. Once again, he was angry at his uselessness. Again, because there is no power, and can only be on the sidelines, cannot do anything. Bai Xiaoxiao's figure appeared in Gao Haoguang's heart. He didn't want that to happen again. Suddenly he seemed to realize something. Teeth gritted tighter, and let go of the hand that was clinging to the rock. Just jumped off. Because he realizes that every time he awakens to his potential, it was the moment when he was most desperate and needed hope. That's right, Gao Haoguang bet right. It's just that. It would be a long time before Fai Tsai found out about his adventure. The risk has affected all living people, and the future of the living dead. And not even just the future. Bang. Possess majestic energy. The sound of thunderous explosions in the rain instantly woke up the entire Sanchuan town. Even the sword that Zhao Yin was about to fall was a meal. All eyes on you. They were all attracted by the spirits that appeared beside the mountain on the other side. The next moment, the divine soul pierced the sky. Like a meteorite, falling in the direction of the 5 axes. Zhao Yin was shocked in his heart. He recognized the sudden burst of energy. It is the axe of the 3 true heavens of Mingzi. And it's a 10-layer micro-encapsule. But how is this possible? In its trance, the spirit came in an instant. The building it hit was shattered in an instant. It's magical. Those shattered Wally are under the power of the FA suit. It actually began to coalesce. Zhao Yin saw that it was not good. Biliary blindness controls the blood body to try to stop, but was stopped by a giant hand made of rubble. One blow was unsuccessful. Zhao Yin turned his gaze to the person who was pushing the Dharma suit. Pupils constricted suddenly. And at this moment, everyone in the audience also saw it clearly. The figure that towered above the giant. It was Gao Haoguang, who had disappeared for a long time. The scene fell silent. Gao Haoguang looked at Zhao Yin calmly. He persuaded Zhao Yin to stop. Well, it's not over yet. But Zhao Yin can only explore. He really has the heart to accept disciples. Intends to cultivate Gao Haoguang as the only successor. But it was God's will to make people. At this moment, Zhao Yin looked a little lonely. He whispered to Gao Haoguang, "Even if I let go of the heirs of the 3 truths method, I will let go. Will Akiko, who exists in the past, let us go?" He knows it well. The avenue that Akiko asked. No mage will be happy. And even more so in his eyes. At this moment, Zhao Yin is just a rich stand-in. Although even so, the younger brother didn't hate him either. But I'm afraid that the little brother will not be able to be the master. Gao Haoguang was reigning for a while. He remembered what had come before. Reminded me of the life of Zhao Yin and the bloody villain. He couldn't bear to do it to such a person. Zhao Yin seemed to see something. His gaze was instantly cold. Case. Needless to say. The next moment, wisps of vitality came from Ma Zhao again. And others were withdrawn from the body. He was forcing Gao Haoguang to make a move. Seeing that the master was in danger, several people were in danger. Sergeant Gao Haoguang made a choice. He beckoned to Zhao Yin to fight. This scene is still the same as when I sighed that things were wrong. This is between Lethe and Sanjit. A fateful war that spanned millennia. As the crackling sound in the 5 mansions continued, the entire town of Sanchuan was completely awakened. People looked at the sky in horror. 2 warring giants. In their eyes, it was like 2 immortals fighting. And on top of this giant, facing Zhao Yi, who was once a great supernatural person, Gao Haoguang didn't dare to slack off. Didn't notice that it was behind him at the moment. The 3-needle order is turned on again. With the stress of 3 injections, it became clearer. A figure quietly emerged. It was a blood-stained heartbreaker. He was shocked by the battle he saw, even neglected before that. He also experienced an earth-shattering battle. That's another one. The fateful duel between Lethe River and the 3 Needles. It's just that there was 100 years between the 2 battles. At this moment, Shangguan Zhao's finger fell. Behind him, the 6 giant blood gods formed by his natural powers transform into the 6 divine realms, towards the front of the eye. In this regard, Lu Qin was not afraid at all. Pose out the driver's seat. But Shangguan Zhao's target was not him. Bloody bodies are forbidden from Saturday in the month. It's like spitting into a flock. Behind him were members of the divine force. The opera is instantaneous. Blood splatter. 6 Dharma seekers were observed. See here. The Yi and other Dharma seekers of the Laos Han lineage were grief-stricken. He knew he didn't have much to offer. Simply followed Guan Shao today. Speaking of which, a corpse is full of forests. The cold fruit of light was summoned by it. But that's not all. The next moment, the old woman forcibly gouged out her left eye. He was to sacrifice his eyeballs. It is used to feed the mother-in-law in the light fruit. With the old woman offering sacrifices, there was an eerie laugh from within the light fruit. A sentence clinging to the spiritual position crawled out of the mixture. Old woman. Chen Shang ordered him to contain Shangguan Pin. So that's Saturday love. I was able to find an opportunity to use my natal powers. The broken star chain on the side is gloomy. This level of magic weapon. It's a bit difficult to contain the inner mage. But maybe we can create some opportunities for him. And another year. The battle between Shangguan Shao and Lu Qing was still scorching. The scorching sword rays corroded uncontrollably. Eventually, it was drowned in the waves. The 2 fought from the sea to the land. From swords and swords to hand-to-hand combat. Although the battle lasted only a moment. But the 2 sides fought no less than thousands of moves. But no matter how Qin attacks on Saturday, it's hard to hurt Shangguan Shao. The body of the Divider Nirvana Master is too tough. Ordinary means simply can't do it, causing substantial harm. In his trance, Shangguan Shao grasped the soul of the machine, slapped it directly at Saturday Qin's parents. A mouthful of blood gushed out uncontrollably. Shangguan Zhao's palm almost damaged his Dharma body. Saturday is a love in my heart. First of all, the Dharma clothes that have been refined in recent years. Throw them all out. He had to find his chance. Take Shangguan Zhao's body tissue. You can also use your natal powers to kill them in one hit. Under the control of Saturday love, captives in the sky began to condense towards the sword in his hand. This is the unique spell system of the 3 truths. The 3 true precepts treasure method. Shangguan Shao looked at all this calmly. He also recognized the sword pin in Saturday's hand. It is one of the magic weapons of the famous sun, an imitation of the Sanjin Wanfa sword. Comfortable imitations can also be considered excellent. Feel the love of Saturday in the Dharma body. And the magic weapon refining shows a good talent. The killing intent in Shangguan Zhao's eyes was even stronger. Providence makes people. Once again, fate has taken all of Broken Starlink. At this moment, Saturday will be the Qin general. The sword blade in his hand is made of countless magic clothes. Throw it out. Countless counting methods are like colorful galaxies. Surrounded Shangguan Shao. This well is wonderful though. But there is a secret murderous motive. The next moment, the spots of light in the sky actually conjured up many powers out of thin air. Wants to drown Shangguan Shao, who is deeply involved. But he will always sit back and wait for death. with the pinch of martial arts in his hands. Blood emerges behind him. Just in case. He also covered a bloody body. Quietly fled from this place. At the moment when it was done, heaven and earth are stirred. Colorful tree red light. It makes the battlefield at this moment have a different kind of splendor. The energy of various attributes swept over. But they were all killed by Shangguan and fell down in 4 sentences, with the last talisman forced to raise. This visual feast formed by the tree method. Chinese pacification. Suddenly, Shangguan's portrait sensed something. Raise your head sharply. But he saw that it was above his head at this moment. A crack cracked in the sky. An endless thunderbolt came out of the bushes. There is still no chance to give him a chance to rebel. Bang! The terrifying destructive energy turned into a sharp sword. Pierced the entire island. Brilliant thunder. Render the entire night sky as if it were day. Saturday is sunny. The blow of the machine's calculation is not weak. But he still went small. Lethe Supreme's combat experience. At the moment when Raimeng approached, Shangguan Shao once again used the bloody body he had fled before. Transposition is done. However, at this moment, he has multiple damages on his body. Apparently the stubborn blow of Saturday love. Even Shangguan Shao was a little embarrassed to deal with. So he didn't even notice the obstacle under his feet, and the broken star chain lurking in the water. The next moment, the war ghost emerged from the boulder. Use supernatural powers to temporarily control Shangguan Pin. Meanwhile, broken star link awareness alarm. Perch came to his mirror. But his goal is not Shangguan Pin. It's the hair that has been torn by the fighting. The two passed by. At the same time as the broken star chain grabbed the hair. The awareness of official sales has been solved. Struggled to break free from the control of the war ghost. But the broken star chain had already wrapped its hair around the stones. Throw it in the direction where Saturday Clear is. The uneasiness in Shangguan Zhao's heart became more and more intense. So much work. It was just to take away his hair. This must have something to do with Saturday Qing's natal supernatural powers. Come to mind. He couldn't sit still anymore. Jumped up directly and chased towards Duan Xinglian. The war ghost still wants to stop it. Was stopped by Shangguan's bloody body that remained in place. Shangguan Shao Xuanqi arrived. Duan Xinglian and his skills. Not at all at the same level. A moment of crisis. Saturday was in the middle of the day, holding the one. A stone wound with Shangguan's hair. Without the slightest hesitation. At the same time as the natal supernatural power is exerted. Throw the stone in your hand into it. All the injuries that this doll has suffered will act on the person who has been lost. Saturday's expression was cold. You are not allowed to break my heart, and the anger is spread at the same time. The sword slashed across Dump's body. Shattered in an instant. Shangguan Zhao's body. Suddenly, more than a dozen spiritual power sword rays appeared out of thin air. For a while, the blood was like an arrow. The crowd rejoiced. They were well aware of the power of Saturday Qing's natal supernatural powers. But the next scene. But it made them feel a deep sense of despair. Shangguan Zhao's body did not crack apart. Rather, it is hidden in the void. The next moment, the blood behind it began to crumble. This is 100 years of blood. One of the damage transfers in the avatar isn't over yet. The shattered part of the bloody body began to transform. Go to the sister and brother duo play. Although Saturday was a little conscious. Pushed away Duan Xinglian at the last moment. But the two are still frozen. It's just that Duan Xinglian avoided the key point. And he himself was frozen through the heart. The horror of the blood hair didn't stop there. Shuttle at a high speed. The two siblings were fiercely fixed on the cliff. The broken star chain is self-inflicted. He could feel the passage of his sister's life. Lu Qing smiled at him. Because he won. He died sooner than he practiced carefully. Providence makes people. Once again, fate took away all of broken star practice. You know how strong this teenager is in front of you. The natal supernatural powers he comprehended. It is possible to reverse cause and effect. At this time, It is on a cliff by the coast. The extremely short blood hair froze through the bodies of the siblings. The broken star chain can be clearly felt. Senior sister is leaving him forever. Self-blame and hatred made his pupils instantly glow. It was his sister who saved him. But he could only witness the death of his senior sister. Shangguan Xiao silently appeared behind the two. He appreciates Saturday love. Just helpless. Both sides exist in different laws than themselves. After that, Shangguan Xiao raised his hand and met the end. The two of them saw the heartbreak at this moment. It's as if you don't feel pain. Desperately broke the hole. Blood hair on the body. The moment its body fell, it stomped on the cliff, turned around and walked towards Shangguan Xiaoxi. At this moment, Duan Xinglian's eyes were numb. Hold your right hand tightly. Rendered golden by a mysterious energy. Shangguan Xiao looked at all this calmly. This is his second. The next time I saw Duan Xinglian's natal supernatural powers. Although I don't know the majesty of this supernatural power. But it's also important. Finger tightly. Duan Xinglian was cut in half in an instant. In Shangguan Zhao's eyes. It settled. But he still went small. The madness of Duan Xinglian. Hatred seemed to make him unconscious. A few Fu-Lu were held in his hands. Without the slightest hesitation, it was directly detonated. The arm of the broken chain shattered in an instant. With the power of this explosion, faced head-on to Shangguan News again. It's just a self-destructive counterattack of the broken chain. In the eyes of Shangguan Sales, it is still just in vain. The gap between the two is like a Yunny ratio. With the current cultivation of the broken chain. Not even qualified to meet him. But the next moment, out of thin air in the left shoulder, there was a foul that was hit. In addition, the official pin's retreat was slammed. Vertical attack after the appearance of this touch. The fist of the broken star chain is finally approaching. A punch slammed into Shangguan Pin's left shoulder. There is the country of heavy punches first. And then there is the sound of punching. Broken star chain's fist. As if it was destined to hit Shangguan Pin. Although he is weak, he can't hide from it. The next moment, the touch of the blow appeared in his face. Shangguan looked at the soldiers. The man in front of him is as weak as an ant. Try to slap him in the face. Subconsciously slapped the fist of the broken star chain. Day earthquake battle. Countless thunderbolts instantly shrouded Shangguan Pin. But it turned out to be a thunderstorm of causality. Under the action of the broken star refining powder life magical power. Being hit by him has become a given. Stop his attacks. It's like forcibly changing Britain. This level of punishment. It is unbearable for today's Shangguan Xiao. With Shangguan Xiao being hit hard. Utah's condensed blood hair dissipated. Saturday was fine. Fell into the sea with the broken heart chain. The sea was unexpectedly cold. It's like that day and that moment. That river. Only this time. It's not just a broken heart lover who reminisces about the past. Join the three truths. It is the beginning of the rebirth of broken love. Born to be human. He never knew. You can be so important to others. Later, he realized it even more. What is a real family? Secretly avoiding the senior sister who coughed would be unhappy. When you can't remember the punishment of the basic law, the master will secretly give him his favorite tea eggs. The senior brothers always take him with them when they peek at the senior sister taking a bath. Because he ran the slowest. It was the happiest time of Xinglian. He was willing to die for them. But the reality is, an extreme of 737 wanted prisoners. Bliss Organization, in the name of doing the right thing for heaven, attacked the three-stitch method. In the end, the three-needle method used the forbidden technique up and down, at the cost of their own lives. Saved Saturday couples. A broken chain that doesn't have much to live on. That moment. For the first time, the broken chain has some kind of extreme emotion. After that, the siblings who fled began a life of wandering. From city to city. From one identity to another. What doesn't change is that all they want is to become stronger. And then before the end of his own life, let those people pay with blood. But now the revenge has not been avenged. That grace has not been returned. He has come to the end. Although I knew that my ending could only be like this. It's just that at least I can't let my senior sister end here. A supernatural power that is perceived by humans. He has his own intelligence. The depths of the ocean at the moment. The fire of life between Broken Star Love and Saturday Love will be lonely. Broken Star Love is unwilling to take revenge. The grace has not been repaid. He can't die yet. At least the senior sister shouldn't end up with him. Bigu's hatred for the heavens of the Nirvana Master welled up in his heart. The next moment, the three true moons erupted with a burst of dazzling light. Once again, he crossed the arms of time with hatred, with the formation of the Three Truth Seal. A very vicious exclamation came from it. Because of the current situation of the three true heirs in front of him. It's a bit miserable. And at this moment there is also a broken heart. Because of the thing that makes the sound. It's actually a wrecked virtual mess. The year is 1906. Gao Haoguang jumped down from the mountain on the other side. At the moment when his consciousness awakened, the green phantom has descended again. He came to protect the light. But no one noticed his appearance. Even Gao Haoguang, who appeared in Zhaoyingqi. I can't see it either. His presence could not be heard. It's impossible to know. It was this phantom that was helping him to understand the Dharma. Leapfrog the foundation to his pre-existing potential. It seems to have reached a decades-long run, or even hundreds of years. This knowledge, the experience was introduced into his mind in a short period of time. Make high depletion at least at that moment. You can show your generals. The 10-layer microcapsule of Mingzi's great magic talisman. And at the same time, the green phantom noticed. That again produced the same month of causal green fluctuations. There is a monstrous hatred that comes across time. And in this way, it was again recognized by the order of the same month. The green phantom rejoices. He knew that Zhaoying was the same person as the moon on the other side. Finally you can see and hear yourself. So he preached the word, avoiding obstacles across time with hatred. The air of the three-stitch method. The next moment, the two sides were blindfolded. Everything you see in front of your eyes. It makes them a little skeptical about life. Suddenly, it seems that I remembered something. Things in front of you. He turned on for the first time. 3 needles can be seen in the same month. It's just that he was at that time. It's just that I perceive this looming unknown exist. Now it can be seen and heard clearly. Could it be that the same music order was used before? It's this illusion. So, Patriarch Haoguang was unable to perceive that the Tongla order was being used. Because of this, he is not aware of his existence. Just when Duan Xinglian was full of thoughts, the green phantom spoke again. If you can still cast spells, then tell me where you are. The direction of my big 3-stitch method will never die. And at the same time, on the other side of the timeline where the green ghost is, the battle between Zhao Yin and Gao Guang has entered the white-hot net. But under the strong offensive of the great sin and blood, even if there is Gao Haoguang with the help of the Patriarch's magic suit, there are also some resistance. The next moment is lined up. The sword slashed and forbidden, cutting off the divine soldier and surrendering the sky. At the same time, Gao Haoguang controls the giant. Zhao Yan's body that slammed into it with a punch. Zhao Yan, who couldn't defend well, could only give up his blood. Pulled away to a safe distance. With the dissipation of the two giants, there was a brief lull in the fighting. Now, neither was able to suppress the other in a short period of time. It can consume the remaining mana. It was no longer possible to support him and Zhao Yan. Another protracted battle. What's worse is that, consume it like this again. There is only a dead end left for Ma Zhao and the others. Creation makes people. Although he couldn't bear to kill Zhao Yan. But there was no room for him to hesitate now. Zhao Yan saw the complexity in Gao Haoguang's eyes. It is also the mission of knowing the 3 chastity method. So he took the lead, and I will kill you with all my might. Do what you have to do to the best of your ability. There should be no room for remorse on either side. Heaven and earth are enormous. 10,000 arrows roared in unison. You can believe it. It's just a blessing. The ferocity of the display. And Gao Haoguang at this moment. But I intend to forcibly use 2 normal supernatural powers. He behaved like an upstart. I saw the big head trembling for a while. You have to know the general supernatural powers. I can't refine a few such captives in my life. But he actually has as many as 3. Even Zhao Yin, who was once a great supernatural person. At this moment, it is also revealing unprecedented solemnity. What you see. But the witness of the scattered king of Mingzi. And Tong Xian is drawing a magic symbol. The former is the main killing method. The latter was an auxiliary captive. With Tongzhuanzaiwa, you can subdue other laws. The magic weapon's microenergy is doubled. It does not cost the user's mana. Zhao Yan explored. This is indeed very much in line with Xiao Mingzi's style. Leave no room for error. It can be described as Shangguan Xiao. Even if he lives or dies, he will not flinch in the slightest. Because that's the light in his heart. In his experience, his family starved to death one by one. After that, Shangguan Xiao gave him the light to lead him all the way forward. Zhao Yan's life. It's a lifetime of chasing the light of dawn. But now it's night. Uncle Tang's testimony abruptly arose. Crisscrossed swords of spiritual power. It's like being able to cover the sky. And at the moment under the sword array, it was as if a sigh was heard. This sigh satisfies the sorrow. As Gao Haoguang's finger fell, countless sword rays began to attack Zhao Yin. And Zhao Yin was forced by blood. It cannot be used in a short period of time. Therefore, only 2 blood blade seats can be conjured. Time. There was a stirring and dense sound of swords slashing. It resounded throughout the mountains. Under the high danger of this endless sword. Although Zhao Yin is passive. But for a short time, the swordmangs couldn't break through his defenses either. He just had to take it off and bring it to his bloody body. It's not that there is no strength to confront it. And at this moment, he is using 2 great divine powers in a row. Gao Haoguang himself has been seriously overdrawn. But even so, he was still desperate to speed up the onslaught of witnessing. Because he knew the art of lethe very well. Naturally, I knew what Zhao Yin was thinking at the moment. Absolutely can't let it. It lasted until the moment when the blood was restored. Time. The rain of swords that were shuttling rapidly began to turn the offensive. Like a few golden dragons. Attack Zhao Yin in the center. With the sword mang. It was as if the blood blade in Zhao Yan's hand was hidden. The building next to it was directly flattened. At this moment, Zhao Yin was already covered in bruises. The blow was a great blow to him. But the good thing, he finally survived until his blood recovered. There was not the slightest hesitation for a moment. Directly threw out the blood-colored villain in his hand. At the moment when it was thrown out, the scattered sword rays began to condense again. And the other side, facing the oncoming bloody body, Gao Haoguang has no other way. The only whole card now. It is the painting in his hand. But at the moment when it was ready to perform, it seemed to disappear abruptly before his eyes. It's like being swallowed up in the void. This sudden scene, Gao Haoguang was caught off guard. And in the moments of its corpse god, the bloody villain had broken through the sky and came to him. The next moment, Zhao Yan's body, and it completed the transposition. And the bloody villain who has just recovered. Once again, it was lost in the sword. But as long as you can kill Gao Haoguang, none of this matters anymore. As the distance between the 2 quickly closes, Zhao Yan's eyes were full of complexity. But he's rejoicing. When you still have humanity, met Gao Haoguang. If there is an afterlife, he will still choose to take him as a disciple. But at the moment when its sword slashed out, a few red rays of tree light broke through the air. Zhao Yan had no choice but to withdraw his sword to defend. In his current state, he couldn't. Although the meaning of the tough guy is blocked, but the exploding fish wave still makes it affectionate. Seeing this, Ma Zhao and the others were excited. They are also counted in this battle. I found some presents. And there's a foreshadowing here. Look at it. At this moment, the weighing flower in the big head's hand is gone. On the other side, at the same time that Zhao Yin was blown away by the tree method, Gao Haoguang pinched countless swords in his hand, enveloped Zhao Yin again, and this time he was powerless. Zhao Yin's shocked eyes slowly calmed down. It doesn't seem to be a surprise to this ending. Or maybe, all this was predestined thousands of years ago. Lethe River and Sanjin fought a fateful battle that spanned thousands of years. The end of the game. This battle greatly affected Gao Haoguang's heart. He slowly began to understand what Akiko had done. The source is imperishable. All things are hard. This is the destiny of their three true methods. Several people hurried, caught the thief who was out of the way due to a severe overdraft. The master's old face was full of heartache and pride. Lao Shan's care is even more unknown by this name. The small sect was shocked. Only the big head silently looked at his palm. I don't know what I'm thinking. Suddenly on the wasteland in front of him, bloodshot appeared, began to coalesce towards a shattered skull. It turned out to be at the last minute. Zhao Yin, destroy your own head that has not yet been witnessed. With the rest of the bloody body from before, a swap was made. Look through the means of the academy. Once again, it refreshed the cognition of several people. But there is no room for them to back down now. Just when Gu Ho drew his sword and wanted to fight Zhao Yin to the death, Gao Haoguang congratulated him. There is no longer any need for the two sides to fight any further. Zhao Yin's body was almost shattered by the witness. Although there is a glimmer of life left by luck, but in the end, there is no way to return to heaven. He's going to die. Gao Haoguang looked at Zhao Yin with a complicated expression, asked them what they want to do in the end. But he just arrived, and there would be no time behind him. And he turned and departed alone. At the moment of its turn, the corners of Zhao Yan's mouth showed a hint. It's like a smile of relief, looking at his body, which had begun to gradually dissipate. Gao Haoguang's eyes were a little more indescribable. I don't know what to say. Back in 2020 AD, seriously wounded and dying Shangguan, the pin soared back to the coast. The few who faced the remnant were members of the Godhead. He didn't choose to make a move. It's silently walking. However, at this time, an old man dressed strangely stepped out of the crowd. This person is looking for the old man of Wushan, who came to break the spirit. It's also a small 100 years ago. The grandson looked at the back of Shangguan, Xiao silently leaving. Wushan was silent for a while. Finally said Zhao Yin. The fact that it was already alive and died 100 years ago. Shangguan Xiao slammed his footsteps. But there was still no word. Just silently looking at the stone mountain in the city. After looking at it for a long time, Wushan explored. He knew that Shangguan Xiao had no future. But the only thing that puzzles him is, what kind of prodigy could make him so angry? So all the soldiers, a member of the Godhead, told him about everything that had happened before. The old man almost didn't pull it away. Jumped directly into the undersea prison to find the two siblings. Now let's rewind the clock. The moment Duan Xinglian opened the 3 stitches of the same month, the Green Phantom learned about the paragraph. After the position of the star lovers, I told one of him 100 years ago, for the two of them to be buried at the bottom of the sea. Duan Xinglian didn't hesitate at all after hearing this. Take control of the body. Turned around and punched into the deep summer complaint. Meanwhile, on the other side of the same month, the Green Phantom slowly conjured up an arm. He was extremely careful with every step, as if afraid of something. Be aware of what he's doing. Slowly, he reached out. Gao Haoguang, who is about to perform the psychic reincarnation suit. Boom shot. The Chinese style of the causal green of Rei Jie is coming. But this time he was a step slower. The next moment, the repeated abrupt disappearance in Gao Haoguang's hand. At the time of appearance, it is already above the immortal flower in the moment of the big head. Don't take him to react yet. A tremendous force came. The weighing flower in his hand flew uncontrollably into the distance. Go big head little age. He took on the big black neck that had lost the wings of the sect. Time goes back to the bottom of the sea in 2020. As the soil layer breaks open, gradually, a handful buried deep under the banner emerged. Red paper umbrella. On top of this umbrella, there's another one, engraved with the 3-stitch method imprint. The next moment, Fu Lu erupted in a blinding light. After 100 years, the immortal flower is blooming again. The paragraph will be new. Column 2 that could be at any time. The extinguished flame of life condenses. Knows how miserable Penglai Supreme was at that time. When he was very young, I was saddled with the black wave of losing the sect's warranty. In the Wu mansion at the moment. Looking at the moment of disappearance in the sky, the flowers are called. The big head is a word of suffering. He was already able to meet himself. What kind of treatment will you be treated when you return to the school? Knocked out, forced to marry, imprisoned in practice, and sad without a household. The big head was bitter in his heart, but the big head didn't say anything. And just when it was distracted, Zhao Yan's body and blood body have completed the transposition, and went straight towards Gao Haoguang. The big head saw Zhao Yan. At this moment, it is the end of the humiliation. I don't care about anything else. So he proposed that everyone work together to contain Zhao Yan. It was this blow that successfully saved Dao Haoguang, and give him a chance to kill Zhao Yan. At this point, the war has finally come to an end. The big head breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. There are also a lot of thoughts in my heart. He couldn't figure it out. What was the matter with that supernatural suit just now? He was not involved in the battle. It doesn't look like the little brother is manipulating. So why did he suddenly appear? Where do you want to take the weighing flowers? And at the moment on the coast, not far from the town of Sanchuan, a divine soul pierced the sky. I came to the top of an arched island. And this thing in the gods. It's the moment of immortality that is full of cracks. After crossing the island, the flower fell straight to the bottom of the sea. It was as if guided by a mysterious force. It began to slowly fall in a certain direction. More than 100 years have passed in silence. Wu Shan is looking for the two who have broken their hearts. Came to this place. As soon as it approached, he sensed a familiar fluctuation in reaction. The deposit is gone. The siblings had already died of illness. But it was. A force held the last ray of life. Can the two still live? Wu Shan was not sure. But that's like the witch of both. But he did not dare to deny it. Because back then, this moment of immortality was called a flower. It also saved his little life. Wu Shan couldn't help but sigh. In a trance, he remembered someone. That was the supreme person of Wu Shan's sect. I wonder how he would have felt if he saw it. After all, this was his favorite magic weapon back then. Meanwhile, in the easternmost part of the ocean, far from the earthly expanse, there is a hidden place that is difficult for mortals to detect. There is a fairy island here. Above the fairy island, countless pavilions and palaces are hidden in the greenery. It's like a mythical fairy palace. And in the depths of this Asgard, a man is sitting upright on a lone boat. Cranes linger beside him. It gives people a feeling of being out of the dust. Suddenly, the man stopped playing the game, looked up in a certain direction. Nan Nan muttered to herself, reappeared. The name change is still in the place where the mountains and rivers flow into the sea. It's really embarrassing. Barefoot and back to the bottom of the Mikawa Sea. Wu Shan still couldn't figure it out. How it all happened. Why is this magic weapon here? But that's a coincidence. If you say this world, someone can really save this sister and brother. I'm afraid it's only the owner of this moment of flowering. After all, the law of immortality is the law of their Penglai's natal life. Is this a coincidence or not? Wu Shan thought about it and vetoed it again. Because for cause and effect, the word necessarily is more appropriate. The year is 1906 again. The moment when Gao Haoguang said goodbye to Zhao Yan. At this time, a green phantom appeared in the air, silently stared at Gao Haoguang. It's just that his body is broken now, although it does not affect the cause and effect that will inevitably arise. But he just made a move. or was punished by the causal green. A single blow nearly wiped him out. Then he glanced at Zhao Yin deeply. There will be a period after the death. After that, it disappeared without a trace. And at the moment above the ground, the big head came to Xiao Wuxian. He had just noticed the little one, although it doesn't look very smart. But he is a man of law. Encounter his fate. The big head took out a golden spoon and gave it to Wuxian. Knows Zhao Ying, who is the master of Lechuan Academy. What a miserable past. As his figure faded away, Gao Haoguang's eyes overflowed with indescribable complexity. Exhaustion struck in this instant. Then he seemed to have a dream. But that wasn't his dream. It is a section that Zhao Yin treasures in his heart. At that time, my father and mother were still there. The mother drove the donkey to grind the noodles. The father made noodles for him, and his little sister with new noodles. This scene is still present today. Zhao Yin still dreams every day. That's the most carefree dream. It was also in his momentary and long life, the closest to human time. But dreams will wake up. The world changes. That year, the Han Yellow Plague. Raids of champions and bandits. Too many people have turned into evil. Disciple nurses can be seen every day. There's no hell. The world is hell. The little sister and the father and mother both died one after another. Only Zhao Yin survived to the end. He still vividly remembers what his father said on his deathbed. Don't let someone else pick up daddy's body. For it is in these last days. Father, the only thing you can leave for your child. At that time, he was born out of time. But if you don't survive, there will always be an end. It didn't take long. He walked to the Sunta River again. Only this time he had to cross the river alone. This moment, Zhao Yin felt the despair of being disheartened. This world is shit. It's the Cherry Land. He roared feebly. The voice was faint but hoarse. However, just as it was freezing to death, two well-dressed pedestrians walked up to him. Looking back is a fluttering white dress. A girl with 7 pairs of cold breath all over her body. One sentence brought Zhao Yin something alive. Also made him feel like the two people in front of him. Hated by Du. Because he later learned. The maiden and the old man. He is an important figure of an immortal sect in this vicinity. It's in this land of 1,000 miles of evil. There is a great power. But it's an immortal sect that they don't see. Zhao Yin thought of the desperate appearance of his father and mother and little sister. He couldn't help but hate. He hated the heavens for being unjust. I hate that he lives so freely. But he has never felt how desperate he is. He wanted to change his life for another day. Then he bent over. The West seeks to enter this house number called Lethe. He wanted to climb up. Until you can control the house number. Then use it to change the way of the world. But only if it is. He wants to surpass the one. The Shangguan school recognized by the first gate as the first heir. Although the master had told him that he had no chance. But he kept on the challenge. Once or twice. 3 times, countless times. All of them ended in failure. Until that year. A mysterious person found Zhao Yin. The mystery man said it was because of boredom. So I am willing to help him practice by hand. As for whether he can do what he wants, then it's up to him. At that time, Zhao Yin recognized it at first sight. The figure of this mysterious man. It's his own master. But he didn't break it. With mixed feelings, I practiced with the mysterious man. Spring goes and summer comes. Autumn and winter solstice. Zhao Yin's supernatural powers are getting stronger and stronger. There are even signs of awakening natal powers. That day, the mystery man suddenly said that you know you want to go. Is it a path without results? Those who seek the Dharma cannot live without rice and without land. Even though it has a great god system that moves mountains and reclaims the sea, it can't affect the way of heaven and people's hearts. How many great supernatural people have wanted to Kwang? He even ruled the world. But in the end, nothing changed. Zhao Yin listened, pondered a little. Then he handed the clay figure that had not been finished in his hand. Mystery man said that this villain didn't pinch to the end, and I was unwilling. Can you keep it for me? If only I could change the way of the world. I'll just pinch this face out." Then they laughed. The smile is extraordinarily hearty. Soon after, Zhao Yin challenged again. All the same students, including the master, came to see the excitement. Everyone doesn't think of this showdown either. It will be different from the previous one. But as the fighting became more and more intense, Zhao Yin began to play in the same door. There are also various prodigies who can be slender. In the last resort, the girl didn't answer. A new heir to the pie was born. None of the people in the same door could believe their eyes. Even the master. Why is this? Zhao Yin was puzzled. Then he involuntarily reached out to another person. When you make the last move yourself. Because he cast the heavenly blood god, Shangguan Pin, who was not seriously injured. The figure of the bloody body is really similar to the master. After that day, the dew and hatred in his heart disappeared. Some more time passed. It gradually turned into a different kind of feeling. After all, people are trapped in their lives by things that are unattainable by teenagers. However, the east wind blew through the boy's dream. The years have smoothed the hearts of heroes. And Zhao Yin recognized the young man he is hell-bent on surpassing. It is after the mysterious man who taught himself to practice. The dew and hatred in his heart are gone. It gradually turned into another kind of emotion. After that, they went out together to do the way for the heavens, destroy cannibals and hungry corpses. During this time, I have also met all kinds of like-minded people. One of the most special is a very delicate teenager. The boy often boasted that one day he would come to Haikao. The law of cause and effect will be helpless against him. Someday, the king of the dead will be saved by him. Now and in the future, erase the boy, wanting to follow the path that is also considered fruitless. But somehow, Zhao Yin felt that it was really possible for the teenager to do it. Because the teenager is stronger than himself. Later years, to help the people of the famine, Zhao Yin had also borrowed the methods of giving from other sects. The art of Mickey, but a piece of land after the rain. The other side should have been. Rainy lands will experience drought. After a wheat field is fueled, another field will die inexplicably. It's so hard to control, but it's harder to get a heart. He also dressed up as a handsome man who was willing to help the world. Power brings desire. Lust brings killing. It was not a tragic death in the struggle for power. It was the fall of his descendants that brought more confusion. Zhao Yin has worked hard for 5 years. 10 years, 20 years. 100 years the world has not changed. What has changed is that he is tired and not light. The blazing fire was extinguished. At that time, Zhao Yin just wanted to spend this life peacefully. Live well with him. But destiny is unpredictable. Shangguan Shao once wanted to save him. In the Great War, the great divine cylinder of the overdrawn orcs was used. Even the blood body of Huitian was overdrawn to the great god of suspended animation. That year, Shangguan Zhao's fate was exhausted. The last glimmer of fire in Zhao Yan's heart was gone. But fate makes people. On that day, the true blood of Wanya Shurxian came. He's back. Even the bloody body that faked his death. It's all come to life. Shangguan Shao had a lot of thoughts. And Zhao Yin only had joy. He's changed, and he knows he's changed. But now Zhao Yin only wants to be himself. Live for Shangguan Shao. Even if it's for the sake of gambling on one person. And the entire sect was relocated. Even if you go to fight the invincible people you found. Guarding this last glimmer of fire. Until they are sacrificed together. But this day they had already predicted. So, in the relocation of the Dharma, has already sent their respective blood bodies away. Let the interesting Lingji hide themselves. Fall into a deep sleep. Even if the ontology is read. Memories are also impossible to find. Waiting for the time when the invincible man is long gone. 300 years after the Lethe Academy was buried. One of them is a man with a plan from the past. But after the resurrection, Zhao Yin couldn't sense Shangguan Pin. Really? Because of the fact that his blood was once seriously overdrawn. Will be later than yourself in the jungle world. He still has to wait. He'll keep waiting. It's just that I didn't expect him to wait for 200 years. Until the longevity source was exhausted, I couldn't wait for that feeling. Zhao Yin was unwilling to die like this. Lived a life in vain. He was really unwilling. It's just that he didn't know it at the time. There is something familiar that will bring him back to Earth. Time flies. 900 years are fleeting. The true blood of Manhwa has descended again. In his contact, Zhao Yan's ancient tablets that had already been scattered to the bottom of the sea. He was resurrected again in a French body. I saw this in the past. The day is completely different. The world is just the same for him. He returned to his hometown and continued to wait. Because Manhwa is a cause and effect that cannot be escaped. Shangguan Zhao's blood body only needs to be transformed into him. It must be a mage, thus squeezed into infinity by the original, since it is impossible to sense his presence. That is, he has not yet succeeded in turning around with blood. Zhao Yin will continue to wait. This time he had plenty of time to wait. Until today, it was yesterday. At this point, Gao Haoguang woke up from Zhao Yan's past. He was silent for a long time. Sunset. 3 rivers shrouded in the afterglow of the setting sun. It was restored to its former calm. The master and apprentice were also in this gaze. Leaving this seaside town. Why do you say Zhao Yin and Shangguan Xiao? The story between is embarrassing. Even if you are reluctant to do anything, you are unwilling. But it can only end up being a creation and making people. Under the morning light and the setting sun. Zhao Yin and Shangguan Xiao walked separately. The place above this Lethe river is the same. The direction is consistent. Only the time was wrong. Everything in front of me became so unfamiliar. They have no place in their hearts. Just walk aimlessly. Where to go home? But where is home, and where are you? Same street. There is no way to find each other. Zhao Yin waited for 2 lifetimes in the hometown of Sanchuan. And the future of the awakening of Shangguan sails. Look at the steely forest-like city. Walk in unfamiliar streets. Looking for him. Are you in the more distant future? How far is it? Zhao Yin couldn't help but ask in his heart. The future is far away. It's only 100 years away. But even if it's only 1 day away, Zhao Yin couldn't wait. Really stopped in the past forever. I don't believe Shangguan Xiao would rather believe it. Zhao Yin will live unscrupulously and despicably. But why can't I find him? It's a pity. After all, I missed it. At this moment, the two seemed to be able to talk across time and space. Zhao Yin said the belated apology, facing the life-saving grace of the girl back then. He didn't want to reciprocate, but he only thinks about using them. It is really immoral and useless. But what he didn't know was Shangguan Xiao at that time. You can see it. Zhao Yin groveled. That decisive heart against the way of heaven. Even if you are not virtuous and useless. We are good Chinese medicine. After that, faced with Zhao Yan's every resentful article, Shangguan Xiao has mercy on his subordinates. Because it was those challenges that he later on, in Shangguan Zhao's boring and peaceful life, aroused a rare curiosity. He was curious about why Zhao Yin was fighting. As for why the identity of the mysterious person is used, go and help Zhao Yin practice. It's really just because it's boring. Zhao Yin. The injustices in the world are smoothed out by those who talk eloquently. It's like a story from a storyteller's mouth. It could only be a story. But this is especially important for growing up in the door from a young age. Cultivation is all Shangguan Xiao. My favorite thing to listen to is the story. So much so that much later, whenever Zhao Yin thinks of his own time, when pouring the clay figurine into the hand of the mysterious man, those words of boasting, I can't help but brush my ears and get hot. And then later, Zhao Yin defeated Shangguan Xiao in front of the entire sect, also robbed him of the position of heir. But he still didn't know. At that time, Shangguan Xiao only used 7% of his strength. As for why, it's just because Shangguan Xiao thinks it. Being an heir is not as comfortable as being alone. At least that's what he thought before. Can be after the two have gone down the mountain many times to cook. His attitude towards Zhao Yin It's not as cold as it used to be. It has nothing to do with birth and death between the two. But it is related to the story of Zhao Yin. Because he's really doing the same things that he once boasted about. Erase the injustices of the world. Change this shit-like thing. The Tao knows that the will of heaven cannot be done for it. Although silly. But at that moment, this stupid junior brother was really shining. That's it. Zhao Yin persisted for 100 years and still achieved nothing. Slowly he got tired. With gray temples, he came to his senior sister. Tell about your incompetence. But Shangguan Xiao has never been disappointed in Zhao Yin. He returned the original clay figure to Zhao Yin. Although this stupid junior brother did not do what was talked about back then, but Zhao Yin succeeded in changing Shangguan Xiao. Let him, who was originally indifferent to mortals, and helped to do so much. Stories that exist only in the mouth of a storyteller. I'm a small part of this world. Shangguan Xiao sighed. But in the eyes of Zhao Yin at this moment, not just a small part. It's all. He no longer lives for this world, just for the rebellious. But in its 100-year dream, it was fruitless. The year when I was going to spend the rest of my life guarding Shangguan Xiao. His life was over. For Shangguan Xiao, heaven is also fate. Even if you are unwilling, just accept it. Before he died, he smiled and said, "I'll go first." At that time, Zhao Yin seemed to have said something. It's just a pity he didn't hear it. However, fate made people Wanya's true blood come. Shangguan Xiao was resurrected as a mage. Looked at Zhao Yin, who was full of joy. But he had a lot of thoughts. Finally, it turned into a sigh, since there was a later. You might as well live again. From that moment on, they have no choice. I can only continue to wait. Waiting for the day when we will meet again. It's just where the hell are you? Why can't I find it? In a trance, the two of them began to unconsciously head towards the top of a certain mountain. Go because they haven't forgotten. What you see in front of you is where Lethe once was. The bits and pieces of the past can't be suppressed. They've been here for 100 years. Home is right at hand. But there's no going back. The two of them stood on the top of the mountain and watched for a long time. 2 eyes apart. I miss speechless, but not. They turned their gaze to the small people on the side. All the way to the end. Zhao Yin didn't pinch an eye Yuan's face out. Instead, it is burned into peach kernels and inlaid here. Let him point in the direction of his hometown. Because the senior sister is often because of the road of progress, and can't find a home. The two stood in the direction pointed by Ni Yuan and looked at each other in pairs. It's like saying that having your direction is home. Zhao Yin smiled softly, whispered, "I'll go first." And 100 years later, Shangguan Xiao replied, "I'll be there then." A breeze blew. The figures of the two eventually dispersed. Flowers bloom on the other side. Lethe River is also Lethe. The other side. Gao Haoguang woke up from Zhao Yan's past. The senior sister happily said that Aguang woke up. But he alone knew that he hadn't woken up from the dream. He inherited Zhao Yan's dream of fighting the heavenly Tao. He's going to keep dreaming about it. Then he clasped his fists in the direction of Makawa and bowed. Solemnly said, "A smooth journey, Master, so far." Sanchuan and his entourage came to an end. The story of Zhao Yin and Shangguan Xiaojian is embarrassing. Two people are attracted to each other. Two people redeem each other. How to sigh that time is merciless. Mortals are helpless. The rhythm is unforgiving. Unbearable for life. They all do not hesitate to be kind to each other. In the end, we still don't forget each other. Don't forget the direction of home. The winds of change. Creation makes people. The big head of the mysterious tree method turned out to be a native of Penglai Island. The blame put him on his head. Which woman's youth will it be? With the end of Sanchuan and his party, Ma Zhao and others returned to the third Dharma house of the Three Truths method. The days seem to have returned to their previous level. Tranquility and tranquility. It's just after this line. Gao Haoguang became silent a lot. He looks like a demon who has just died of his master. At the same time, Ma Zhao's heart was cold. There was even more worry in his eyes that could not be concealed. And just when everyone is enjoying the big sister, when cooking delicacies, outside the mountain gate of this third Dharma, a teenager with a weird hood. I'm worried about what I'm eating. It's been 3 days since he came here. Every day, I rely on roasting birds as a kung fu. While eating, he also emphasized, the big head is so cruel and ruthless. But in fact, every time he digs a bird's nest, a litter will only take one. Suddenly. Thirdly, there was a pungent smell of food in the Dharma. The big head suddenly felt that the baked egg in his hand was not fragrant. So he was ready to go to Gao Haoguang to negotiate a deal. On the other side, Gao Haoguang returned from Sanchuan town. I began to practice day and night. Because he wants to be stronger. I wanted to pursue Zhao Yan's dream for 100 years. Keep doing it. And yet at this moment, a flying stone interrupted him. Gao Haoguang turned back angrily. But I saw that weird big head. Was looking at him with a smile. Big head also said, if Gao Haoguang doesn't dislike him, he can stay in his practice. Because he can see it. The little brother in front of him is talented. But he didn't even touch the threshold of the Dharma seeker. For the big head will be in this place. Gao Haoguang was not surprised at all. Because on the way back from Mikawa, he spotted the paper crane that had been tracked down. It's even more vague. I saw the figure of the big head shuttling through the trees, and the intention of the big head to move. Gao Haoguang could also vaguely guess some 8% for his inexplicably lost moment. Immortality is called a flower. But he really didn't know. Where did the magic weapon go by the Dharma service? For Gao Haoguang's explanation, the big head didn't question it at all. Through the observation of these days, the big head could tell that they weren't that kind of person. Not to mention the magic weapon on the 3 true ancestors. It is only stronger than that of their sect, not weak. It's just that. He still wanted Gao Haoguang to help retrieve the magic weapon. On this, Huizai asked suspiciously, how do you want me to help? But I saw the big head in front of me with the head of the demon Ong. Said majestically, and the big head didn't know. But, can you let me follow you for a while? I don't know what clues I'll find. You give the big head a foothold. The big head can help you practice. High light consumption is somewhat easy to move. After all, he had seen the toughness of the big head with his own eyes. But this one is always there. It has not shown its true colors. Who knows whether it is alive or dead under this hood? Seeing this, the big head hurriedly took off the hood. Isn't there no sense of mystery? Nature is absolutely impossible. But oops. It's so hot, it's breathable, and it's good. The guy gasped exaggeratedly, pretending to take off the hood. What catches your eye? He is a very good-looking teenager. On the delicate face, there is a pair of unification like amber. It also makes the person in front of him look full of aura. At this moment, the young man seemed a little reserved. It's hard to be born on your own. Have you seen Brother Haoguang in the sea and mountains? It is a native of Ponglai Island. Although it is not easy to guess the origin of the person in front of you, it is known that it came from that time, when the strongest thief ruled one of the Ponglai Islands. Dao Haoguang is still the same. My heart trembled. Even Ma Zhaojia, who was hiding on the side and eavesdropping. At this moment, I couldn't help but dedicate myself to the mirror. There is no other reason for Ma Zhao's abandonment. This beautiful boy in front of him is not a talkative boy. Actually said that he wanted to help him practice as a disciple. It's like pointing at his nose and scolding him for being incompetent. The sea and mountains rained for a while. Busy said that it was too late for him to apologize now. Ma Zhao was still angry. Lung snorted. It's too late to say it's all now. The old man was angry. Unless you come and teach us all 3 too. Let's talk about it. Ma Zhao solemnly looked at the sea and mountains. Haishin squinted and glanced at the people in his eyes. I couldn't help but scratch my head. 3 chastity method. Isn't it? A little bit of brazenness. Gao Haoguang also had sweaty eyes. He couldn't figure out what the master was trying to do. Saw Ma Zhao's face full of kindness at this moment. He's just getting started. The three virgin Dharma sects suffered a catastrophe. He had learned very little. There are not many who can give it to a few disciples. He always felt sorry for Sister Gao Haoguang, brought them to this dangerous world. This time too. Last time, I was useless myself. Can't hand it over. A prodigy who can let them soar into the world without worry. There will only be more dangers in the future. They need a higher level of magic in order to turn danger into service, as long as there is someone who can help them practice. In Ma Zhao's opinion, no matter how embarrassing you are, you will make a lot of money. An incense that has been buried for endless years. It can make ordinary people prisoners. In the mountains and forests at this moment, after learning about Ma Zhao, after the good intentions under the request, the seamount is also touched. After a little contemplation, the impression is made. That's it. This Peng Lai is in Taogong Mansion. Finally have a place to stay. Then he proposed. Can you find an evocative shirt for it? But the only one in the house that matches his body type. There is only the senior sister Miao Qingqing. Seeing this, Haishan immediately spoke. The word indicates a refusal. How can I be a dignified iron-blooded man in women's clothes? The voice fell. Haishan in a red dress. It appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The senior sister even gave it intimately. Painted a beautiful makeup. It's just senior sister. You're sure this look isn't on that hood? Painted at the same time. In an attic dozens of miles away. 1. The copper box that had been sealed for an unknown number of years was opened. Inside this copper box, lying quietly an unburned box. It is also engraved with the imprint of the three-stitch method. Several men couldn't hide the excitement in their hearts. This sect has been deliberately sealed with eunuchs. But they left behind a magic weapon. It still exudes such an astonishing mana fluctuation. Time. Everyone greedily looked at the three needles in front of them. As long as you have it, even mortals without law, it is also possible to enter the private road. Legend has it that ordinary people entered. That even has access to jurisprudence. The possibility of becoming a Dharma seeker. In a trance, the man suddenly fought a Korean war. Then it was as if I realized something. Turning back to the two women behind him, he said revenge. In the next has already given 2 places. Why stare here? But the two women did not answer. He always had that evil smile on his face. After a few moments of silence, he turned and left. The second daughter comes from a man who is called an evil sect that can be asked for but not handed over. Shinji Pavilion. The people in this sect have a distinctive characteristic. That's the ominousness that emanates from its body. And a vicious aura. Let people approach. There is a feeling of discomfort that I want to have diarrhea. The two women left under the man's gaze. Then I went to a tea house and sat down. The young and immature girl is named Aunt Tiger, and the mature and tall woman next to her is called Subtle. Both of them relaxed the expressions on their faces at the moment. Gasping for breath. It's still quite tiring to come out of Zhuang 13, but the sect has regulations. Whenever 1,000 machines are used to control disciples, you have to show that kind of posture. Aunt Tiger who takes off her disguise. There was wisdom in his eyes. They made a lot of money on this mission. He was thinking about going back this time. What kind of reward will the owner have? Will it be their own? What about the iron beast in my heart? As he spoke, Wu Dashan remembered the 3-stitch method mentioned in this mission. For this sect, the Golden Temple only knows that it was once extremely powerful, although it has long since declined, can be the high level of the major sects. But because of some concern that others are difficult to know, I don't want to mention more. And even the owner of the 1007 Pavilion. I hear the thing which I stepped out this time, when it is related to the 3 truths. His eyes were inexplicably energetic. The mystery inside it aroused the tiger god's full curiosity. That's when it happened. Xiao Air from the tea house sent some food. The second daughter hurriedly pinned her face to the side. When you turn around, it's back to the same way it was before. Between the 3-needle method and Peng Lai, it seems to have an unknowable origin. Even the first Dharma of its sect stayed in Panglai. After an endless period of time, once again, the two major schools have intersected. It's just that the once extremely powerful three-stitch method, now it's gone. It has become a little-known small brand. Even the contemporary alliance leader Ma Zhao, those who seek the Dharma are both half understood. So the sea and the mountain decided. Make up the foundation for these good and bad people. The first question is, what is the law? The Dharma seeker is different from a mortal. At the time of its birth, it was already present in the Genshin. Among the primordial spirits of the seekers, there are 103 jurisprudence that can produce law. Every jurisprudence is initially closed. It is only through various practices that it can be opened. Sickness is like a well that excavates groundwater. The water from the river is diverted for various kinds of work. Only these 103 wells can be used skillfully. To be qualified to be called a great supernatural power, they are the true masters of this world. One by one, they are all the masters of the collapse of the sky, extraordinarily disturbing the people. And most of the scenes in the Genshin are very small. There's even a part of it that's landscape. These unexpanded landscapes are also called bottlenecks. And the reason why it will fall into a bottleneck, mainly because people can't see him. Not enough is known about it. Not to mention breakthroughs. Next, Haishin asked, "You know what the Dharma is in the broad sense?" The voice fell. Gao Haoguang, who has been silent, softly spit out a word. In his opinion, the so-called Dharma is the door to all things. As soon as this remark came out, there was a brief silence in the woods. Haishin looked at him deeply. Gao Haoguang's perceptual acuity surprised him a little. It's just in their Penglai's understanding. Fa is more like a language that communicates with all things. After that, the sea and mountains will be looked at again. Recondensed to Gao Haoguang. This little brother's qualifications are truly outstanding. But he still doesn't know what to do. I had sensed a trace of it before. It's like the breath of the natal supernatural powers. But at this moment, it disappeared inexplicably. For this issue, Gao Haoguang himself is also a little confused. Since leaving the town of Sanchuan, he felt like something was missing from him. The understanding of the captives also began to blur. And I don't have a clue. Gao Haoguang could feel it. Now I am going to take another risk. It is also impossible to use the tin captured by others. Layer Mighty next. The sea and mountains have made up a lot of basic things for a few people. Knowledge is just a lack of knowledge on the basis of these people. It makes the big head feel a little big. So he decided to take everyone to the nearby town of Shuanglo. There will be a football drama there in the near future. In front of me, this is full of legends. Odd color house numbers. The powerful magic power suit. And the inexplicably disappeared natal cylinder. Always teasing the curiosity of the sea and mountain birds. It is worthy of the order. His father cared so much about the house number. Reminiscing about the past, when the seamount bird is still very young. I heard my father mention the three-needle method many times, but it seems that there is no intersection between the two. Case. Then why is the first Dharma of the three-needle method? We'll stop at them in Panglai. This is a sea seamount. A casual question when I was walking with my father, but his father replied cautiously, "If you can become my Panglai one day, the Supreme is the Father. I will let you know." It is precisely this cautious gesture aroused the endless curiosity of Haishin. But no matter how stubbornly he stalks, Father would tell him half a word. Since then, Haishin decided to run away from home. It was a momentary gasification. I can't think of a few years later. He really left the paper because of his escape from marriage, and because of meddlesomeness. Came into contact with the three-stitch method that he had forgotten, so much so that in the end, also carried the black cauldron that lost the wings of the sect. This is a little-known underground shopkeeper, exhibited in previous years. They are all magic weapons refined by some ordinary Dharma seekers. Tears of the Rune. In this year's finale, it turned out to be an unburned remnant of incense. Now, Sanjin Feynman and others are under the leadership of Haishan. Came to the town of Eyes. It's a mortal town, but there are many seekers hiding within it. Because they know it. The world is always the world of ordinary people. Do not enter the market. One day it will be abandoned by the wheels of history. While talking and laughing, everyone came to a gatehouse. This place is called Lojong Street. The streets are awesome specialized. A shop that does business for Dharma seekers. It is also known as the Extraordinary Trading Zone. A place for exchange and trading for those who seek the law. All you can see is a dazzling array of discarded things. The truth opened the eyes of Ma Zhao and the others. The group was in the middle street of this building. Walked aimlessly. Suddenly, the sea and mountains seemed to have discovered something. After greeting everyone. So he walked into a store alone. This is one. A grocery store that sells items needed by the person seeking punishment. Not only blessed with weapons. There's even the black blood trafficking of mages. So Haishan started a fight with the boss. In-depth communication. When walking out of the store, there was already an extra handful of iron-weighing flowers behind him. The sea and mountains are beautiful, even if it's not a magic weapon. But it can also give him a lot of peace of mind. But how do you look at it? It's like a child's heart that loses the sect's warranty. And it was during the time he walked into the store. Gao Haoguang sensed something unusual here. There are obviously many ordinary people on this street. But they never touch what the seeker needs. It's as if I'm not interested in this world of seeking the Dharma. I don't know much about it. The sea and mountains are full of helplessness. Revealed a look of looking at the two fools at the entrance of the village. Looking at the crowd to explain the FA. When you came, have you noticed the red stone under the gatehouse? That's actually a magic weapon. It's called the barrier stone. The mana factory that the golden stone emitted can make the surrounding area have no mana. Automatically ignore the various existence of the containment method. Even if you really see something with supernatural powers, it will be forgotten after a while. This is also a mortal idol. There is a reason for knowing the existence of the seeker. Each sect will send a disciple who holds this thing. But there was a place where the seekers fought. Clear the impression of mortals on this otherworldly event. And the reason why it is hidden from mortals. The reason for the existence of the Dharma seeker and the Dharma matter. It's because of the seekers. A pattern discovered over the years. The fewer people who know the FA, the lower the probability of Kazuha's true writing. Feeds on living people. There are fewer mages and attempts to be born. Between words, several people had already arrived in front of a mansion. This is where the seekers meet. All you have to do to get here is show off your magical powers. Whereas, mortals need an entry order if they want to enter. After a few tosses, several people came to hide in this house. An empty square beneath the mansion. The square was crowded with bustling crowds. This is September 10th every year. Held once on the street of Luzhong Street. Most of the participants were Dharma seekers. But there are also some powerful reactions. In order to acquire effective interpersonal relationships, or just for the hobby, with the long term to participate in the exhibition. And the seekers of the Dharma are here. In addition to selling some needed items. Maximum purpose. It is the road of thought that will be opened after the exhibition. After listening to the explanation of the seamount, Gao Haoguang was silent for a while. He clenched his fists and thanked the young man in front of him. Thank you. Write for yourself, and for the whole three-stitch method. His sudden hypocrisy caught Haishan Liao a little off guard. It's not so much that he helps people in their cultivation. It's better to say that he likes the atmosphere with a few people. This group of people gave him a lot before. I can't realize it quickly. But he died arrogantly. But he said it. Just because of the recovery of a moment of immortality called the flower. I agreed to live with a few people to practice. It's really the stinky skin of Wanya Shirxian. I guess it's not as hard as this guy's mouth. That's when it happened. Two directors of Lojong Street came to the stage. It immediately attracted the attention of the audience. People know that. Tonight's finale is coming. It's an unburned stick. although it has been used many times over the millennium. But this thing must have come from the hand of a great supernatural being. Undoubtedly. The people present are not shallow. Naturally, I can see that what the man said is true. But busy urging the person in charge. The display was lit with the residual incense. Wisps of green smoke filled the air at the same time. There was also a strong wave of mana emanation. The mysterious smoke has been gathering for a long time. Gradually, the silhouette of a graceful woman was formed. All of you there. They were all shocked by this scene. Even Gao Haoguang's little fart. They all stared intently. Stay until the smoke is complete. A woman who has captivated the country and the city emerges in the air. Look at this woman's posture up close. Everyone dared to sigh. What a fairy who closes the moon and shy flowers. Only Gao Haoguang cracked directly. This Timo is not Jiang. Akiko's netherworld? He was originally the most powerful supernatural person in ancient and modern times. But I like to play the world as a daughter. Even has become the dream lover of many young heroes. After that, he followed the appearance of his own female Dharma body, refined many magic weapons, only for the sake of future generations. You can also get a glimpse of his beautiful face in women's clothing. At the moment at the exhibition, everyone looked into the eyes of the woman on the stage. All reveal fiery heat and obsession. Even Ma Zhao and a few people are yearning. I couldn't help but sigh that it was so beautiful. Presumably, the maker also made it in the image of his sweetheart, and the seamount on the side. But I saw some clues. He glanced sideways. Gao Haoguang, with a constipated expression beside him, muttered softly, "That's the sign of your 3 true dermas. Look at your reaction, you have to know this person." Gao Haoguang naturally would not admit it, even if he was killed. This is their patriarch. Haishan squinted at him, unintentionally said, "Don't lie to me. I will believe it." Gao Haoguang's face was pale, and he didn't lie. A few people were talking and laughing. The figure of the woman on the stage is becoming more and more real. It's like substance. All the mortals present at this moment. They all felt an extraordinary supernatural power. I understand that I began to carefully understand the mystery. Buzz. Qingling. Strands of golden thread emanated from the woman's palm. All the Dharma seekers present were vigilant. Before we found out the reality of this thing, they are reluctant to touch these golden threads. Oddly enough, it was as if the mortals in the field could not see the silk threads. Let it fall on you. As the thread submerged in his mind, a crowd of mortals fell. But the breath is calm. It's more like falling asleep on the middle street of the platform. The Lord commanded his subordinates, "Extinguish the incense of the 3 truths." The next moment, those sleeping mortals woke up one after another. It's just that they are at the moment. One by one, the emotions were unusually excited. They just had a dream. The mystery of the dream made them yearn for it. Because that's only for the seekers. Only then can you enter the path of thinking. The main event word is no longer sold off. Legend has it that after a mortal entered the path of thought, he undergraduate. It is also possible to learn supernatural powers. What he wants to do today is the business of these mortals. Everyone pays for everyone's further education. Mortals who can come here. They are all powerful people. Naturally, he will not be stingy with things outside his body. A group of people followed the principal, walked into a room on the right. The penalty seekers in the field see this. There was contempt in many of their eyes. In their opinion, these are all just attempts. It's just a bedbug on the avenue. Then they began to follow one another. Walked into the room on the left. That's where the magic weapon of the road to sea lies. Seeing this, Haishan also beckoned everyone to follow. Just when everyone was rushing in, 2 women walked in from outside the dungeon. It is the tiger god and subtlety of the 1,000 base short. The face of the second daughter at this moment. Still smiling with a textbook protocol. But the purpose of their trip was not to think about the way. Rather, it is the seekers of the Dharma who participate in the path of thinking. As the crowd walked into the house, one reveals arrogance. The ball of light of the breath attracted everyone's attention. This thing is the key to the path of thinking. About the event of half a pillar of incense. Numerous prisoners. The raiders began to emerge from the room. It's just that their expressions are different at the moment. And there was a slight exhaustion on his face. Gao Guangguang scratched his head in confusion. Until now, he didn't know what the Silk Road was. Haishan just whispered, "I'll tell him more about it when I'm out." And the Thousand Machines Pavilion too that fell behind everyone. At the moment, the catalog is excited. They found the purpose of their trip. And it's two. One of them. It's the one who just had it on his face. One of the imprints of the man. And the second is Gao Haoguang. All beings are equal in the face of fate. Even if it's a child, they must also be erased. The year goes back to 525 A.D. Zhang Mingzi, after leaving the land of Sanchuan into the sea, all the way to the east, came to a fairy island shrouded in mist. You know how unusual this woman is in front of you. As the elder sister of the three chastity method, he is. I actually like to peek at Shizhuan taking a bath. At this moment, above the East China Sea, stand in front of the fog, blows with its own mana. The fog that has shrouded this place for endless years. Twist slowly. In the end, a hollow was formed. Step Akiko in. Came to this hidden place that is difficult for mortals to perceive. The place of Penglai Immortal Island. But right now, this sacred mountain is known as the abode of the gods. But because of this, the arrival of the immortal monarch of the eternal 10,000 laws trembled. Sure enough, all supernatural people have a common problem. That's an extra nuisance. A group of ordinary people on the island raised their heads and complained. Such a high-profile march. It must be that guy coming back. But it's obviously not over yet. With the approach of Jiang Mingzi's incarnation of Shenhong, from the first Dharma, suspended above the island, there was a three true disciple shock. Heavenly public business. I have 347 disciples of the true Dharma sect in my third year. I would like to welcome Master Wan. And at this moment, Jiang Mingzi's face was arrogant. His eyes looked down on everyone. Then, there was another burst of melodious singing in the Fafu. The Master's mana is mysterious. Thousands of years of invincible master respect, Bogu through the scriptures. 8 talented people Ji Shi respected Fu Fan and Longxi. Perfect. The singing is under the blessing of the disciples with supernatural powers. It spread to every corner of Penglai. Mingzi gradually swelled in this praise. He tried his best to behave naturally in front of his disciples and grandchildren. He seemed to hesitate a little before leaving. But in the end, he said don't do this in the future. Ben Xianjun likes to keep a low profile. The 3 disciples headed by the gallbladder swore an oath. These 3 are the Qing disciples of Akiko. The woman in the play is named Jiang Tong. But his great disciple, the old man beside him, is the second disciple, named Suffering. The remaining 3 disciples in white are named Xinghua. With the departure of the master, a sickly smile appeared on Jiang Tong's face. He felt that this master was too likable. It doesn't matter when you sell yourself and boast. But touted to his face will become another daughter. On this, the 2 people next to him laughed dryly. On the other side, Akiko is lying in the bath. I'm thinking about how my mana will be restored in the same month. How to fight the little apprentice. Suddenly, he felt like he sensed something. Tilt your head to look out the window. But he saw his eldest disciple Zhang, sneakily looking at himself. It is said that the 3 truths Dharma is like voyeurism, the tradition of bathing others. Where did it start? The next moment, everyone only heard above the attic. There was a loud bang. Subsequently, I saw that the senior sister vomited blood and flew out. He could be heard shouting excitedly. I'm clear again. On this jeep. And Xinghua hugged their fists to express their admiration. The meaning can be seen. It's not the first time Jiang Tong has done this. Distance from Ponro. Made his body fly out for dozens of miles. Everything in the place where it passed was broken in the hospitality room, until it smashed several mountain peaks. It's time to stop. is worthy of Jiang Mingzi. No mercy. But it can also be seen from this that Jiang Tong is strong. It's a pity that someone took it a little off. After the fun, Jiang Mingzi gathered a few people. He wanted to know, during this period of his absence, something important happened. Senior sister will be shocked with the same expression. Begin to tell about the recent things that are worth reporting. It seems to be 3 fights side by side. There is a management of relocation. Peng Lai has an appointment. The good emperor seeks treasure. The first is the Four Swords Gate. Not long ago, it was completed side by side with the War Tower. Originally, it was just one of the top 21 gates. It took less than 20 years, and annexed the other 4 rows of equal positions. Now it has been changed to Wujin Gate. The second is in an ancient battlefield. At the same time, 4 drops of Manhwa needles came. 4 mages were born at the same time. A large number of bee bones were also turned into regular teachers, formed once by a nest of corpses composed of tens of thousands of nirvana masters, and a corpse nest of similar size. It has already appeared 3 times in half a year. The amount of true blood that comes during this time is white, and it has a tendency to increase year by year. The third relocation hall was established less than 20 years ago. In order to collect a faction, Wudi used treasures for repair and processing, then sell it as the door plate of the Silver Saint. Recently, it was officially posted to the top 16 of today. Requires to join the supreme management position of the divine power world. The 4th Peng Lai and its affiliated abbots. The 2 islands of Yinzhou are all made by the covenant of the 3 truths. 5th, Emperor Liang hired several Dharma seekers. Shop everywhere. The master disliked the 3 truths that he had thrown away. Finally, there is Xinghua. The younger brother was also happy a few days ago. There should be no qualifications for seekers. It's healthy, though. Bedwetting is also quite motivating. This is the first time I've worried about a villain. Unleash Jiang Mingzi with the killing intent in his heart with all his might. It can affect the weather of the surrounding world. At this moment, the first Dharma house, with the senior sister, will report many matters together. The store fell silent. Will Akiko remain? He looked at the book in his hand with a blank face. And the 3 disciples didn't bother anymore. Half an hour passed for Jomu. Gently spit out the 2-word name of the Mingzi middle ornament. The 3 of them almost didn't react. Obviously, I have said so much before. It is enough to stir up a major event in the Dharma-seeking world. But the master seems to only care about the daughter of the 3rd disciple. Didn't take a name. Seeing this, Xinghua hurriedly said that it was because the master was not there. The disciple is not talented. The qualification was given to the daughter named Feng. This remark. Anyone with a discerning eye can see the perfunctory in it. But it's better than asking the master to name the daughter. Ling Xinghua is more willing to bear the wrath of his master. But in the Mingzi that look at the garbage in the eyes. He was still panicking. I had no choice but to be ruthless. So he proposed that the master give his daughter a nickname. I never wanted to sigh slightly. Some said earnestly, "You're 8 out of 20 this year. There is still a long life. There are miraculous powers to extend life. But one day you have to say goodbye to your wife and daughter. I hope you are prepared." Xinghua looked a drop in color. This is the norm for Dharma seekers. He had already met him. Birth, old age, sickness and death are the laws of the world. He will accept and move forward. However, he was greeted by him. But it was a teacup that Akiko tossed. The seeker is not blindly seeking to be born. What he meant. I want these 3 disciples to take more time. Accompanied 7 women. 100 years later. You have to give yourself more to attack for the rest of your life. Aftertaste. Don't leave regrets and unwillingness. After listening to the master's words, his face was full of tenderness. There is reminiscence in the eyes of the suffering. Ling Xinghua was even more moved. There is such a master who can't cry silently. I should rejuvenate the country, and in my last life, I must have saved the country. But that's not the end of the story. Jiang Mingzi seemed to remember something. Iron Eyes looked at his 3rd disciple and said, Your daughter's nickname is Daddy. The people of Xinghua are numb. I'm afraid he didn't save the Jiangyang thief in his last life. After the fun, Akiko will look at it. Turn to the second disciple who had been silent. The affliction begins with a respectful worship. Then Chunsheng said, under the deduction of the three of them and the owner of Penglai Island, it is already certain. The next Manhwa Advance Advent will be 5 years later. The 27th Battle of Cause and Effect in history will come in 5 years, turning the shade into a fall. A monstrous killing intent emanated from Akiko's body. Waste time. The same few people are as if they are in the cold winter wax moon. That piercing meaning. It's like it can clot their blood. Then it was extremely cold. But it was like a voice from the 9 hells. Echoed in the ears of several people. It's good, just 5 years. Endure a little more for another 5 years. And at the moment when Mingzi's killing intent was transmitted, the temperature in this part of Penglai Island has plummeted. Dark clouds filled the room. It completely covered the scorching sun in the sky. Smiled slightly, the sky was cold. This is the heavenly killing intent from the invincible people of the ages. Even at this moment, in a secret room deep on this Penglai Island, sit cross-legged on top of a futon. Contemporary stingy island owners are awakened by this meaning. The owner of the island was angry. Angrily opened the pair of good-looking boats. Because of New Island, Jiang Mingzi is so rude.